All right. Algebra 1, folks. Thank you for hopping into lesson 21 today. We are continuing on with systems of equations, you see. But we have a brand new method, and this method is called elimination, okay? There's 3 total methods. You've already got to see 2 of them. I'm going to go over those real quick. That first one was graphing. You graphed 2 equations, and you were looking on the graph to see where do these equations or where do these lines cross to find the solution. So the first method, again, was called graphing. The method you just came off of, it was called substitution, in which you would take one part of one equation and substitute it in for another part of the other equation to eliminate a variable so you could solve for one variable at a time and, again, find that solution. That time you didn't get to see a graph, so you were algebraically finding where is the solution, okay? This last method, again, is called elimination. It is my favorite. It is most students' favorite, I would say, from teaching this for 6 years now. I don't save it for last for any reason. This is the order I was taught it in, so it made sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you as well. There will be times where your Algebra 1 teacher or beyond wants you to use a certain method. They might say, hey, I want you to use graphing on this one, or I want you to solve this system with substitution, or I want you to solve this system with elimination. But the cool part is there's going to be problems where you're given and we just say, hey, pick whatever method you liked the most, right? So you kind of find the one that you were best at or most confident in and you solve it that way. There might be times where we say, hey, here's one with a graph. Now solve it. Now graphing would make sense because we're giving you a graph, or we might not give you a graph and say solve it. Okay, now it's probably substitution or elimination that you would want to pick. So you get some freedom after this lesson here, the next couple. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So elimination at its core is solving a system of equation by subtracting the equations to eliminate a variable. Okay, I'm going to read that again. It's solving a system of equations by subtracting the equations to eliminate a variable. So we saw this a handful of lessons ago when we introduced systems of equations. If I give you this x plus y equals 11, and I say, tell me what x is, that's impossible because we don't know what y is, right? This could be 1 and 10. This could be 2 and 9. This could be 3 and 8. All of those equal 11 when you add them, right? So the reason that we do this elimination is to get rid of one of the variables. So imagine this y is not here. Imagine that I now gave you an equation that looked like this. X plus 2 equals 10, right? Well, x has to be 8. 8 is the only thing when I add it to 2 that equals 10. So when I subtract these equations, one of my variables, either x or y, is going to go away. And then I have one left, and we have the skills to solve for one. It's done in 6 steps. Really, 3 of these steps are new, which are these ones. I'm going to go ahead and put this here and say that these are new steps. And then these ones here are old. I'll circle these. They were used in substitution. They're essentially, it even uses the word substitute here. You're kind of going back and using some old steps from that last method that you learned. So here they are. I'm going to read them, and then let's dive right in. It says, make sure that your equations are lined up. So I'm going to show you an example of what I mean by that. When I say make sure your equations are lined up, okay, I want you to be looking at, think about when you used to do math like vertically, right? When you used to do math upside down, like a problem like this, like 7 minus 2, right? When you first learned it, that's how you wrote it. That's kind of what we're looking at. We have our 2 equations right here. Here's equation 1 and equation 2, okay? And we want to make sure they're lined up. When we say that, we mean, are your y's on top of your y's? They are right here, right? Are your x's on top of your x's? They are. They're right there. And then anything else, your coefficients, right? Your number without a variable, are they lined up on top of each other? And they are as well. Okay, we have everything stacked. They don't always come that way. Sometimes you have to rearrange them, which is not difficult. But that's step number one. We want to make sure that those are lined up. So I'm drawing this little subtraction here, right? And I'm drawing that line underneath like that old method of subtraction you knew. That was step one. Step two, identify a variable that has the same coefficient on both equations. So my choices are my y's or my x's. Well, my y's both have a 1 in front, right? 1y and 1y. And my x has a 9 and a 1 in front. So it says identify a variable that has the same coefficient. Well, that's going to be number one, that's going to be y. Our y's are the same. It's 1y and 1y, okay? So now it says, step number 3 here, subtract the equations to eliminate this variable. So I'm just literally going to, and this is very key here, okay? I want you to make sure that you have this minus the subtraction sign out here. And I'm gonna just keep emphasizing that, okay? It's like I'm gonna read these one row at a time. Here's row 1. I'm doing y minus y. What's 1y minus 1y? It's 0, right? You have no y's left. So I'm going to put a 0 down below. I'm going to bring my equal sign down. My next one I'm doing here is this. I'm doing 9x minus 1x. Well, 9x minus 1x is 8x. And now I'm doing negative 23. There's a negative sign there, right? Negative 23 minus 1, which is negative 24. If you don't believe me, grab a calculator. I promise you it is. All right, now notice our y is completely gone. What is it? It's eliminated. That's why this method is called elimination. So now we are just simply solving for x. There's no y left. I'm solving for x. So I just go back to my old steps here. I need to get x alone. That means I should start moving things away from it. There's a minus 24 next to it. I'm going to do the inverse of that by adding 24 on both sides. 0 plus 24 is 24 equals these two cancel, and I get 8x. My last step there would be to divide by 8. And I get, well, 8 divided by 8 is 1, so I get 1x left. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So that's great. I found x. I am not done because I need to find y. I need my ordered pair, my solution, to be written like this. I have half of it. I have x. Now, just like in substitution, I get to go back to either of these equations and figure out which one of them looks easier to me, okay? You can use either equation. They're both in the same system. The system is the problem that was given to us, okay? I'm going to write this back down below. We said x equals 3 we found. This one here looks way easier to me, right? There's no negatives in there. The numbers are smaller. I'm going to use that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for step 5, says substitute your answer into either equation to find the variable. Well, I need to figure out what y is. I just found out what x is. X is 3. So I'm going to copy this equation down, but instead of writing the x, I'm going to put a 3 there because I just found out that's what x is. So now it says y equals 3 plus 1. Well, y equals 3 plus 1. What's 3 plus 1? Y equals 4. I have now found x. I have now found y. There's no other variables. Those are my 2 pieces of information that I need. I just need to write them as an ordered pair. So I write 3, 4. I'm not writing 3 first because I found it first. I'm writing it first because that's my x, and coordinate pairs go x, y. Okay. So my solution is 3, 4. Again, steps 1 through 3 here were new. 4 through 6 was not new. That was going back in, solving for one variable, plugging back in, and then finding my final solution. Okay, let's take a dip right into another problem here and just keep going through these steps. So step number 1, let's see if I can actually scroll this up just a little bit. Step number 1 is it says make sure the equations are lined up. Again, I'm making sure, are my y's stacked on top of my y's? Are my x's stacked on top of each other? And are my coefficients stacked on top of each other? As long as that's happened, then I'm good to move on to step 2. If not, I have a little extra work here. It's happened. I'm ready to go. 2, identify a variable that has the same coefficient on both equations. I see 1y and 1y again. I see negative 7x and 4x. Well, negative 7 and 4 are not the same. So that's not what's going to be eliminated. Okay, it looks like my y's are going to get eliminated. 3 says subtract the equations to eliminate this variable. That's where this minus sign needs to be in there. I'm telling you. I'm going to fix that so it actually looks like a minus sign. Okay, and I'm going to use that on all 3 of these columns. On this one first, so that's 1y minus 1y, which is 0 again. I'm going to this next column. This says negative 7x minus this minus sign, 4x, which is negative 11x. If you don't believe me, use your calculator or your brain. And the last one is, I'm going to circle this. This says 5 minus negative 6. That's why we write that minus sign out there, because a lot of people that don't act like this negative here is the minus sign. That is not true. This reads 5 minus negative 6. 5 minus negative 6 is a positive 11, okay? I'm telling you, put this out there every time. It's going to make your life much easier. Well, what does that do for us? Well, that means, okay, we have gotten rid of our y variable. We are good to just start solving for x. So again, I just need to move a couple things to get rid of this positive 11 here. I'm going to subtract 11 because that's the inverse of a positive 11. Those cancel. 0 minus 11 is negative 11 equals negative 11x. These two terms are multiplying. I'm going to divide by negative 11, divide by negative 11. Negative 11 divided by negative 11 is 1, so I get that x equals 1. There's half of what I need to do. I'm on to steps 4 through 6, which again are old steps. Okay, I've actually already done 4. I'm sorry. It says solve the equation for the remaining variable. I'm on to step 5. Substitute your answer into either equation. This is where we get to pick which of these looks easier to us. I'm going to pick the second equation out of the numbers being a little bit smaller, and I do have a negative still there, but it just looks a little easier to me. You can choose either one. What I'm doing with this is I'm going to take that equation, but I'm going to take x out because I just found out that x is 1. It says x equals 1. So now it's going to read y equals 4. Instead of 4 times x, we're doing 4 times 1 minus 6. A little bit of math to do here. Y equals 4 times 1 is 4. And 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Don't stop here. You've done so much work. Look at step 6. Write your answer as an ordered pair. If I want a solution, then you need to give me a solution. And that solution reads x is first, so 1 comma negative 2 would be my final solution there. What does that mean? There's one solution. On my graph, if I were to graph these two, they would cross at the point 1 comma negative 2. Okay. Onwards and Upwards. Onwards, great movie. Anybody watch Onwards? Onward, awesome movie on Disney Plus. My daughter's into it. Although she's very, very into Ratatouille right now. That's her jam, which I can't blame her. Great movie as well. All right. I'm going to skip over 3. May come back to it, may not. And I want to hop into example 5 down here. Okay. We're going to look at these steps again. Okay. Step number 1 says to make sure the equations are lined up, and then identify a variable that has the same coefficient. Okay, so are these lined up? Well, let's find out. I have my x over my x, my y over my y. My equal signs are lined up, which is always nice, and I have my coefficients lined up over each other. Okay, step 2 was to find out a variable that has the same exact coefficient. So this right here is a 1x and a 1x. Those are exactly the same. This is a 1y and a negative 1y. Those are not the same, which is good. We're only going to be eliminating the x's here because I'm going to subtract now. Okay, 1x minus 1x is 0. Okay, so I have a 0 here. Now I have 1y minus negative 1y. 1 minus negative 1 is positive 2y. And now I have 3 minus 7, which is negative 4. Okay, so now for the first time, which is totally fine, we're solving for y first because x got eliminated. The name of this method is elimination, right? We got rid of one of those. Mathematically, we didn't just say, hey, let's take it away, right? We did it algebraically, mathematically, we did it correctly, and we did it in a way that's allowed to be eliminated. So now I just need to get this y alone. This 0 is kind of pointless. I can do minus 0 on both sides, but doing anything with 0 doesn't really do much, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And I'm going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I have y equals negative 2. Okay, so for the first time in 3 examples, I found y first. So what does that mean? I need to now, when I pick one of these equations, I'm going to plug that piece of information in for y, because that's what I just found. I'm choosing between these 2 equations that were given to us. The top one looks easier to me, smaller number and no negatives. And I'm going to plug in a negative 2 for y. So instead of having this written, I'm going to have x minus 2 because I'm plugging in a negative 2 there for that y that's just hanging out by itself, equals 3. I'm a step away. To get rid of minus 2, I can add 2 on both sides. Negative 2 plus 2 is nothing, so I get x equals, and 3 plus 2 is 5. I have found the other half of my work. Don't stop there, right? We need to make sure we write it as an ordered pair. X goes first, so my final solution is 5, comma, negative 2. Okay, 5, comma, negative 2. And then you take a sip of your coffee and rejoice in being done with the problem. Okay, so there's my solution. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Hopefully we're getting into a groove here. I'm going to hop down to example number 6. All right, example number 6, steps. I'm not going to look at them up above. You have them there yourself. I have them memorized. I've done this so much. All right, so first thing I want to do is make sure everything is lined up. Are my x's in my y's, in my equal signs, in my coefficients all stacked on top of each other like that elementary math we remember and love? Yes, they are. Okay, so I'm going to start to eliminate, right? Think about if I say, hey, eliminate this. If I give you money and I say eliminate it, right? You want to spend it. Spending is subtraction. To eliminate, we subtract. So I'm going to do minus. 7x minus 7x is 0, right? So you can write a 0 or you can leave it blank. Putting a 0 is not a bad thing to do. There's certain problems where seeing that helps. Now I have negative 4 minus negative 10y. Excuse me, negative 4y minus negative 10y is, what's that going to be? That's a 6y. Okay, equals, and now I have negative 11 minus 25, which is negative 36. Okay, we eliminated our x's again, so now I'm just a step away. That 0 is kind of pointless hanging there. I'm going to divide by 6. Divide by 6. I get y equals negative 6. Okay, that's half of my work. I'm going to go back, take a peek at these two equations, find out which one looks easier to me. To me, Mr. Neal, the top one looks easier. Numbers are just a little bit smaller. Yeah, there's a couple negatives, but I can live with that. I'm going to take y out. I'm taking this y out. Whoops. I'm taking this y out. And I'm going to place in a negative 6 there. So I have 7x minus 4 times negative 6 equals negative 11. So negative 4 times negative 6 is a positive 24. I still have a 7x in front, and I still have a negative 11 on the other side. I'm going to subtract 24 here, subtract 24 here. These are gone. I get 7x equals, and then negative 11 minus 24 is negative 35. My last step would be to divide by 7, and I get x equals negative 5 when I do negative 35 divided by 7. So there's that and that. I need to write them as an ordered pair. Which one goes first? X does. So I get the solution is negative 5, comma, negative 6. They cross at this one point and one point only. There's one solution. All right. Let's keep rocking and rolling. A couple more examples I think are worth looking at and spending some time on. Let's go down to example 8 right here. Example 8, again, we want to make sure is everything stacked. They are, right? We have our x's, our y's, our equal signs, and our coefficients all lined up. I'm going to eliminate. What am I going to eliminate? Not my x's because they're not the same. I'm going to be eliminating my y's here because 2y minus 2y is going to give us a 0. So let's go ahead and run through this. I have 5x minus 4x, which is just 1x. 2y minus 2y is 0, so I've got nothing left there. I'm going to bring my equal sign down. And then negative 25 minus negative 18 looks like it's going to be negative 7. Dividing by 1 really doesn't do much. 1x is the same thing as just x. X equals negative 7. So now I need to go back up, pick one of these equations that looks easier. I'm going to pick the bottom equation. I'm going to take this x out, and I'm going to put this negative 7 in that I just found out that's what x is. So now I have 4 parentheses negative 7 plus 2y equals negative 18. Rock and roll. Okay, so now I'm going to do just a little bit of multiplication to start getting this problem underway. 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. Plus 2y equals negative 18. To get rid of a negative 28, I'm going to add 28 to both sides. These cancel. I get 2y. Negative 18 plus 28 is 10. Divided by 2, I get y equals 5. I have both pieces of information I need. I need to write it as an ordered pair. I get negative 7, comma, positive 5. Okay. Let's hop down into problem number 9 for one last good-looking example here. We are going to start by figuring out, is everything stacked? They are. My x's, my y's, my equal signs, my coefficients are stacked. I eliminate by subtracting. What am I going to eliminate? What's the same? The x's or the y's. My y's are the same. They have the same coefficient in front, a -1. So I'm going to start subtracting each row. 4 minus 7 is -3x. -1y minus -1y is nothing. It's 0. And I get -11 minus -26, which would be 15. I'm a step away here. I need to divide this by -3. Divide by -3. I get that x equals -5. I go back up. Which equation looks easier? To me, the top one, because the numbers, you know what, just for the sake of it, to prove it to you, I'll pick the tougher looking one. To me, the bottom one, 7x minus y equals -26. And I'm going to take this x out, and I'm going to put this -5 in. So I have 7 parentheses -5 minus y equals -26. 7 times -5 is -35 minus y equals -26. I should add 35 on both sides. Those go away. This y is negative. I need to show that. That would be a positive 9. And then I need to divide by -1 because I need to get rid of that negative in front. So now y equals 9 divided by -1 is -9. I have these two pieces of information. I need to write it as an ordered pair. I get x. Nope, I'm sorry. I get -5, -9. That is all for lesson. Is that all I want to do? Let's see. I skipped over a couple examples. I think we have a good amount of examples. Did anything crazy happen in those examples? Crazy. Nothing crazy happened in those examples. We're going to stick with those for this lesson. Be on the lookout next lesson. Some things might not be set up as conveniently for us, so we'll have a little bit of extra prep work on these elimination problems. But that is all today for lesson. What was that? Lesson 21, wasn't it? Lesson 21, elimination. I hope that you followed along and were able to understand some of the steps. Again, kind of tying some elementary style math into our systems of equations. We eliminate to get rid of a variable. I cannot solve something that has 2. I can only solve an equation that has 1 variable. And we do that just by subtracting and getting rid of either our x or our y. Hop back into next lesson. 22 will be some more elimination, but again, some problems that maybe aren't set up and ready to go for us. We have a little bit of prep work to do. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.